Charli XCX BRAT album review. Let's chat about it. Hey friends, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning here tonight to chat about this latest album from UK-based singer, songwriter, pop artist Charli XCX. And she is an artist that is very near and dear to my heart. I've basically been a huge fan of hers to at least some extent since she blew up with her True Romance debut. And at the time, I really wasn't listening to a lot of alternative pop, but this album really turned me around very quickly. I really did love Charli's charisma on this record, as well as the pristine 80s production and her ability to write just a super catchy hook. Now, the next few years were a little unsettling because the Sucker album came out, and while it has great moments, it is a much more mainstream sounding pop record, and I still, to this day, have a lot of issues with it. And at the time, I was worried that Charli was just going to fade away, but very quickly it became apparent that that wasn't going to happen as she started collaborating with PC Music very frequently, like the Vroom Vroom EP, the #1 Angel and Pop 2 albums. These were mind-blowingly cool pop albums that showed Charli pushing the genres into the future with great producers like the late great Sophie and A.G. Cook and all of your friends from PC Music. Now, 2019's Charli, this may come as a surprise, but it's not my favorite record of hers. I don't think it's her most consistent record, even if, tracks like Gone were some of my favorite singles of the year. I just knew that she could come up with something a little bit more consistent. And she did. In 2020, she dropped How I'm Feeling Now, which I thought was one of the best sort of COVID, I recorded it in my own home albums. It just is really great in-your-feels record, and so many great moments like Pink Diamond and Claws on here. Now, the last time we heard from Charli a few years ago, she was dropping the Crash album. Now, I feel like this divided the fan base because this, to an extent, I felt like, and I even said this in my review, this did feel a lot like Charli kind of on cruise control. A lot of this album, while the songs that we did get were really, really good, it didn't seem to me like Charli was doing anything different, even though I still, enjoy the album for what it is. I do wish in retrospect that she pushed herself further. Now, leading up to this thing, it is very clear that Charli is on fire right now. All eyes are more on her than ever. And leading up to this thing, she was dropping spicy single after spicy single, and oh yeah, this is a good album. Yeah, the more I listen to this thing, the more I am impressed with it. This album starts off with 360. I've loved this track since it dropped as a single. Between this beat and just how unbearably confident Charli sounds here, this is studio magic from the word go. The amount of swagger on this track is absolutely out of control, and if you were a little let down by Crash, tracks like this right off the bat show Charli, reminding you who the hell she is. It's bubbly, it's so catchy. I really love A.G. Cook's production here, and throughout most of this album, honestly, it's a brilliant single and just the perfect way to start off an album like this. Really do love club classics as well. This track, if you wanted a banger to kick this album off, here we go. This is Charli at her most sweaty and energetic and intense. This is a blood pumper for sure. If 360 started this party, the party is now up and going. It's sweaty. I love the booming production, and Charli's performance on this track is so in your face. I love it. This is the urgency in pop that I really needed right now. And it remains just unbearably catchy as well. If you thought that Charli was on cruise control, trust me, she's making up for lost time. And let me tell you, Charli did not just bring the single, she brought the deep cuts as well. Sympathy is a knife. Wow, early on in the record, this is probably my favorite deep cut here. I love the glitchy beat and the harsh production and this hook that has been just, harassing me ever since this track came out. It's explosive where it needs to be, but it also shows that this album has a thoughtful side to it as well. Yeah, it's awesome. This album is pretty freaking awesome. I also really love Talk Talk. I mean, my God, this track just gives me the chills. I mean, these synths, while they do sound very modern, they also sound, I don't know, ready for a Night at the Roxbury reboot. And that is exactly what I ordered. I mean, the shimmering production on this track is so cool. The shimmering production is absolutely fantastic, and the more subdued sort of introspective verse from Charli is really tasteful. Not only does it, take me back to a simpler time in pop music, it also excites me for where it's going. Von Dutch, banger alert. Yeah, I've been raving like a lunatic ever since this track dropped. I think it's one of the best pop singles I've heard in a really long time. I mean, everything about this track is just so hyped. The driving beat, Charli's hypnotic performance. Whew, I mean, this album does not really slow down much once it gets cooking as well. Everything is romantic. I love this track as well. We'll talk eventually about some of the later, softer tunes, but for right now, this is great. Everything about this track is just so beautiful. I love the backdrop, the production. Everything about this track just comes off elegant. Whimsical as well, and lyrically, this is Charli at her most raw. And you're going to hear me say that a lot because Charli actually puts a lot of very personal, very emotional bars into this very hyped record most of the time. And everything is romantic, don't worry. Eventually, it does turn into a very sweaty, wild banger, and yeah, it's really tasteful. Now, I do have a complaint or two, but easy now, don't you worry. This album is truly fantastic. Sorry, I do have to point out, I might say something stupid. Now, you may have noticed so far in this album review so far, I've pointed out that this is a pretty raw album for Charli for a good hunk of it. But then I hear this, and it's definitely in the same vein, but just not done nearly as interesting. And listen, she's even done softer, more personal tunes like this on albums like Pop 2 and How I'm Feeling Now. But personally, I think this could have been packaged differently. And I have a lot of the same feelings on So I. Lyrically, I respect the track, and the production is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, it almost has like a sort of Hannah Diamond flair to it, which is pretty cool, but once again, this just kind of takes me out of the groove. I respect the track lyrically, but I feel like Charli could have done a track like this just with a little bit more oomph. That's just me nitpicking though. Outside of that, come on, this is awesome. Let me tell you, the party does not slow down at all with tracks like Rewind. This track keeps things hyped with one of the glitchiest and wildest beats on this whole record. This thing is noisy, and Charli continues to keep things fairly introspective and keeping things classy as well. And I do really respect that. Now that that's out of the way, let's go back to partying. Girl So Confusing also has a surprising amount of depth to it. I love this track's intensity. This beat just has its own personality to it. As a matter of fact, a lot of them do. While going through this record, while clearly a Charli XCX project, there's a lot of different flavors. And because of that, we're well into this record, and it still has me just as excited from track to track. I also really love Apple. This track is adorable and determined. It's passionate, it's heartfelt, it's one of the most instantaneous tracks here. I really do love B2B as well, even though of all the singles, this was probably the one that took me the longest to warm up to. But it's really great. I love the groove, I love how colorful it is, and it's super hypnotic. And Mean Girls, my God, this is, this is probably my other favorite deep cut here. I mean, let's be real. Charli didn't have to go this hard on this project. She did that for us. And she's clearly not slowing down either. The synths on this hook, my God, this track is a damn anthem. I also do really love I Think About It All the Time. This one definitely took me a little bit longer to warm up to as well, but I have come around to it, and Charli's performance on this track may be her most raw on this entire record. It's sincere, it's adorable, it's visual. It's charming, it's incredibly deep, and then I think back to some of the tracks on here that I didn't like, and then I hear this is light years more interesting. And as a finale, truthfully, I could not be any happier with 365. I mean, this honestly is kind of a stroke of genius. This is one of the more creative pop records I've heard this year. Not only does it greatly expand on the already great 360, it kind of sums up almost every emotion felt on this record. The progressive synths, the wild production, somehow she hasn't rehashed anything yet. Yeah, this is really intoxicating, and a lot of this album really is. Yeah, cheers to that. I mean, yeah, after all these years, some of the softer tunes on this record are just a sound that I still don't particularly enjoy from Charli. But if we're talking about pop music in 2024, it's June, and this is by far the most interesting thing that I've heard this year. It is intoxicating. It is pretty wild. The production on this thing, A.G. Cook and Friends did awesome. The hooks are here. The deep cuts are here. Not only is it a hyped, sweaty, colorful party, but it's an introspective and personal look at Charli XCX as well. And yeah, that's awesome. Feeling a light 9 on this album, but let me know what you all think down below. If you liked the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, friends.